All right, it's time. Welcome everybody to the retrospective. We're talking about what went well, what went wrong, and what we can do better, especially in regards to GitLab 9.5. And today I'm starting off because this month, it's vacation time for the most of the world, meaning we are low on capacity, we cannot get as much done. We get this amazing community contribution of GPG commit verification. Huge thanks to the community, to Alexis that contributed it, and all the people that made it possible. Really, so cool, such a nice contribution. Very proud of everyone involved with that. Sean, what else went well this month?
Thanks, Job. Yeah, one thing that went really well, with some caveats that I think are later in the retro, is that we did actually process 2 more background migrations. This is cool because last time we did our first one. This time we've done 2 more, and these were kind of I don't want to say more complicated, but they were different. They weren't SQL only migrations. They also involved Ruby code and like Ruby models. So it's really awesome that we were able to process both of those. We estimated them to take about a week each. We don't have an exact time because we had to pause them for a while, but it's really great that the data itself is now in really good shape. Victor, you're next up.
We introduced 2 new labels recently, and we did it just as we were wrapping up 9.5 to indicate the status of an issue during development. It's been enormously helpful for myself, and I'm sure for the product team, and I've seen a lot of folks, engineers on the call right now who've actively moved their issues through these 2 stages in development and in review. And it helps a lot with our process and getting that visibility and being able to manage issues ahead of time, knowing what's already in, what is still in review, and so on and so forth. So that's been a huge win. Tim, you're up.
Yeah, what went well was the whole performance improvements that we have done on one hand on the front-end side. So we have improved there a lot with different techniques, but also what was really seeable is that we have so many performance improvements to put even in the release post that there was a very long list, and it's really great to see all the different performance improvements making an actual measurable impact on all levels and all pages. And I'm really looking forward to all the other improvements on the next releases. Josh, you are next.
Thanks, Tim. So I have a couple items here on the list of things that went well. The first one, continuing on to the GPG theme earlier, 9.5 was our first release that we have started to sign our package downloads. And so that went great. No issues reported, smooth sailing. And so now if you wanted to go ahead and ensure that the package you got is the package we intended you to get, you can now do so, and some additional security there, which is awesome. We also had a great update to PGHA as well. We are running this in production, and so it's running well there. And so give it a try. It is in beta. We plan to get out of beta here soon. But again, give it a whirl. Again, we're running it ourselves on GitLab.com, and it's been running great. So good work to the team, and we're excited to get that out to more folks as well. The last one is that we did ship automated monitoring, which means that if you're taking advantage of auto deployment, you can now seamlessly and without any work on your behalf start to get response metrics from your application, latency, error rate, things like that, all without any effort whatsoever. So super excited. Congratulations to the team. Thanks for the hard work there. And yeah, we're excited. So passing it on to Jacob for the next one.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, so we had put in process some new ways of writing code in this release because we had a couple of really big issues that we were working on. This process is where one person is writing the code and one person is writing the tests, which worked really well as a pair programming situation, which is something that we haven't done very much at GitLab, and we learned a lot in the process. And I will link the docs shortly here. Then we go on to what went wrong this month. Sean, you're up first.
Yep, thanks, Jacob. So group issue boards didn't make it in 9.5. We were hoping to get it in 9.5, but we made the call, I think, on the 3rd. There's a retrospective document link there. I think a couple of headlines from that document, though, are probably just we, as leads, didn't do a great job of picking people to work on it, because we picked 2 people who have no overlap in time zones. And to sort of go back to your point about people pairing, obviously we work async mainly, but for features like this, it can be really helpful to have at least some overlap so people don't get completely blocked for a whole day. Also, it may have just been bigger than a feature we could do in a single release, which is okay. So next up is Jacob on behalf of Felipe about the repo editor.
Yep, so the repo editor was a very large merge request. It has its own retrospective linked right here. The TLDR is that it did get merged without going through full approvals. So a lot will change with that in the future. Sean, you have the next one.
Thanks, Jacob. So this is on behalf of Andrew. I'm not even going to attempt a South African accent, so I'll just do it in my normal accent. He's asking if we have to disable sidekick jobs for the entire deploy, because when sidekick jobs aren't running, we're still up, but there's a bunch of stuff you can't do. So for a bunch of things, we may as well be down, because like you can't merge a merge request, or you can't update a merge request. So having them down for a long period means that like we can't do our work, which also means that people who are using GitLab.com can't do their work either. James L., you linked to an issue. I don't know if you want to talk about it briefly. If not, then Josh, jump in.
Okay, I'll jump in. James, if you want to chat, certainly stop me. But one thing with 9.5 is that some of the Mattermost issues continued. And so we really do need to figure out a better method of testing these. Right now, we're getting some bugs into the final packages, which isn't good, and we're finding out only after people submit issues. So we do need a better way of identifying and finding these before we ship. And so hopefully we can improve that here going forward. Also, one things that didn't go great is the pivotal tile is continuing to be a bit of a challenge with its unique architecture and build system. We're tracking down, for example, today an issue with the rack attack and the pivotal PCF proxying system that's set up. So that's another area that's continuing to be a bit of a challenge for us going forward. Stan?
Yeah, so a couple things. We mentioned database migrations, but it exposed an underlying problem with our infrastructure with slow disks on GitLab.com. So because these migrations were doing a lot of work, they caused a lot of load on our database, which therefore brought down GitLab.com. So we had a number of those outages that were fixed with the new failover and the new disks, but it was a problem for a week or so. And the second main point I want to bring out is the LDAP. We continue to have problems where our release breaks LDAP logins for one reason or another. In this case, it was a minor issue that could be worked around, but it was still people expected to upgrade and have logins work, and it stopped working. So I think we need to really put some effort into this because it's happening release after release. Yep, GitLab QA. That's later on. We'll discuss that. Tim.
Yeah, the EE promotions didn't go in. They were way more complex than we initially estimated them. And basically, I had the strategy to start with one and then have basically the groundwork to do all the other ones. But as the groundwork took longer, it stretched out and waited and took more time than expected. And so this is now going into 10.0. Gabriel, you're next.
Yeah, we still have issues with our specs. We have a lot of flake tests. Sometimes we introduce a new restriction that piles up with existing merge requests, and we get the master failing with a lot of commits. So this is not good. Jose?
Not much to add. This also affected the release process for 9.5. Luckily, there is a couple of issues that are trying to mitigate this particular issue, such as the migration to Chrome for RSpec tests and some migration of the front-end tests from RSpec to Karma. That's it for me.
Yeah, and I just want to add that this is also an issue for security releases because we are dealing with old masters and old stables. So sometimes we fix a flag test for master, but it never gets backported. So this also prevents a faster security release or security response. Mark?
Yeah, so the CI/CD team was working on auto deploy improvements, and those slipped again. Actually, it's been 2 months now. And so we've discussed with the CI/CD team elsewhere. I don't have a link handy, unfortunately, but one of the key pieces there was having some automated testing capabilities for end-to-end deployments using auto deploy. We don't have that yet, and we need to do that. Another thing is capacity and people, and so we did actually add Alessio to the team, so that'll help. Jacob S.
Yep. So we wrote the issue comments into Vue.js, and it did not go as we planned. The problem was with the handoff of the code and some disagreements of how and what is acceptable in JavaScript. We've created a JavaScript accord so that we can all be on the same page. This did not make it into 9.5, but you can check out the merge request, which has that JavaScript accord. Then we go on to what we can improve. Stan, you have the first one.
Yeah, first one, we had to expand GitLab QA to do actual integration tests, and the first one in my mind is LDAP, just test logins with an LDAP server, a real one. So there's an issue for that. Jacob, UI regressions.
Yes, so we had a solid amount of UI regressions, things that did not appear in the UI as we had expected them. We're putting together a UI testing framework, which Bryce is working on, which will help us catch UI regressions. It's a work in progress, and I'll provide the link shortly. And then Gabriel.
So the question is, should we consider backporting fixes for flex specs and DAWA?
Yeah, I just put my comment in there. My answer is basically yes, because it takes very little time to merge, and it can save time, a lot of time, when you're waiting for specs to succeed, and they'll just end up failing.
Yeah, absolutely. And please remember to create an issue or something around it, because these flaky specs can be fixed. People create them, and we can actually, a lot of them can be fixed in a simple way. So please identify them. Don't retry. If you're retrying it more than once, then it probably means we need to investigate it.
All right, that was it. Any last comments, questions, happy thoughts? All right, we're all working on GitLab 10, so let's get back all to that, and I'll see each other in a month again. Thanks, everyone.
Best release ever.
Will be the best release ever.